Hello, beautiful friends. Thanks for joining me for another video blog. I hope this finds you well and thriving. I want to introduce you my new book, which is not for sale yet, but I'm going to start sharing some teasers here, some content of the book. The book, it's called What Would Love Say? Languages to Connect and Heal Us. Now, this is not for resale because I am reviewing the book. This is just a copy for myself, reviewing to see if there are any typos here. And in my future videos, I'm going to be sharing a lot of the content, some of the languages that I use in the book. This book is really about my own journey of healing, transforming the wounds of my younger self, my past wounds, and how this work has led me to have a very, very strong connection with the divine, with spirit, source, I call God, whatever you want to call. You can simply call high consciousness or source or universe. It doesn't matter because this connection has nothing to do with religion. I don't follow any religion. I'm just a woman who loves God and loves to know God. And knowing God is really a journey of knowing ourselves, because God is within each one of us. So I want to share with you the dedication in this book, which is on the first pages here, that says, I dedicated this book to my inner child, who in her deep pain of grief and loneliness taught me what love truly is and guide me on my journey back to my essence and back to God. So this is her. This is who I dedicate my book to. This is the love of my life. This is my precious younger self, inner child. So this video is going to be about her and why this work of connecting with our inner child, it's so important. And I know it's a work that many people resist. Now, if you're getting turned off by this expression of inner child, just like people get turned off by the term God, if these words trigger you, you can simply say transforming, healing, resolving wounds from your past that is always related to your younger self. Every single one of our past is the younger self. It can be when you were a month old, 5 months old, 5 years old, 35 years old. It's always something that we carry from the past. So you can also call that a part of you. If you're familiar with internal family systems, they call parts. They also use the term inner child, but they call parts. So just call a part of you that is holding a wound. But I'm going to use the inner child because that really resonates for me. Why is this work so important? First, I'm going to mention where a lot of people are feeling stuck. They suffering, they struggling. They doing a lot of therapy, or they seeking some modalities of therapy or spiritual teachers. This is what's happening a lot. It's very common that I have conversations these days with friends, maybe friends that I haven't seen in a while. And they ask what I'm up to, and they usually share something about, because we always end up talking about healing and transformation. They end up sharing a story of either of themselves doing therapy, or their spouse, their partner, somebody they love doing therapy, and they share with me that it's not working. It's not working. They either still stuck in anxiety, depression, overwhelm, some form of stress, or they're watching their loving ones not in a way progressing much with therapy. And this is why, and disclaimer here, I am not here judging and throwing under the bus any type of therapy, because there's a place and time for each style of therapy, for different teachers in our lives. So a lot of people who are not, let's say, moving the needle, they're not feeling any relief, because finding relief is one of the markers that we're doing some deep work and is working. So here are the signs that what you're doing, it's working. You're finding relief. You finding more peace. You having more peaceful times in your life. You finding yourself more relaxed, less consumed by worry, by anxiety. You find yourself getting a little quieter and be able to meditate a little bit longer, perhaps, or connect with your intuition, which is something we all carry. So these are some of the markers. Or if you have some type of physical condition, that physical condition is getting better, that pain is getting decreased or getting eliminated completely. Those headaches are gone, that shoulder pain is gone. So there are several ways that your emotional, your mental, and your physical body will show signs that nothing is changing much, or wow, I'm really feeling the progress of this. And keep in mind that a lot of times things might get a little worse before they get better. But going back to this conversation I have with friends, if you're just doing, let's say, some kind of behavior change therapy, like cognitive behavior therapy, or just some form of talk therapy that is focused on behaviors changing, or just focus on changing your thinking, which is a form of behavior modification, it's a good start. It's a good start to understand where your behaviors come from. Might be behaviors of codependency, behaviors of addiction to food, addiction to alcohol, addiction to social media, behaviors of distracting yourself over and over, behaviors of interrupting people all the time when they're trying to talk to you, or behaviors that you leave the room when the conversation gets hard, any type of behavior. If you just focus on changing the behavior, let's say the behaviors here is happening, let's say if you're doing talk therapy, it's happening in a mental level, intellectual level. When you're doing talk and you're explaining, you're analyzing, you're thinking about it, you working from your left brain, so it's very intellectual. So let's say you operate in the behaviors and you're trying to resolve your behaviors from the intellectual level. Well, the problem is what's creating the behavior that you're talking at this intellectual level, it's something that is under here. I'm showing you, like if you just listen to this, I'm showing, my pelvis, the energy of my pelvis, the energy of my belly. This is where our old emotions reside. This is where all our traumas, all the things that were too hard to deal with are pushed to. I call like the basement. If you have a big house and you're busy and you don't want to deal with all this stuff that you have and you keep buying more and you just throw in the basement, in that room, the basement, and you don't look at that room and you just throw everything there. So anything that we don't want to deal with, anger, that fear, that sadness, that grief, I don't want to deal with, we toss in the basement, which is the base, is our sacrum area, is our pelvic area, and is also our belly area. So if you think of the pelvis as the basement, then the belly is like the shelves where we throw our emotions that we can't handle. So the center of our emotions is right here behind the navel. So what's feeding those behaviors that you're talking on an intellectual level reside actually in your first, second, and also your third center, which is where your solar plexus is. That's your will, right? Your will is kind of that gate between your three centers in your heart. Any emotion, because we diffuse, we transform emotions to the heart center. So I'm pointing here right below the heart, the third center is like a gate that stays closed, and you just toss all those emotions underneath. And when this gate is closed, meaning you're not doing a process that involves embodiment, involves you really feeling those emotions through your heart center, because that's where we really get to feel and transform. If you're not letting those emotions come to the heart center, this is what becomes what I call depression, anxiety. Depression, anxiety are two sides of the same coin. Depression is like, I'm going to depress everything down and I'm going to keep it down there. And anxiety is kind of this gate, it's like you're holding the analogy of holding the beach ball underwater, you're holding. So it's going to hold this gate closed actually requires some kind of energy. Everything requires energy. And the energy to hold this is anxiety. Is also what Dr. Russ Kennedy calls the alarm system in the body. There's like a gatekeeper there say, no, don't open this. It's too dangerous to open that. Let's not go there. I don't want to feel those emotions again. So it's the alarm. It's scanning the environment all the time. And that comes out in the form of the controller, right? It's scanning, doing everything, manipulating, even lying to people, to control the circumstances so you don't get to feel this pain again. So that protector, that controller, the manager I call for myself, it's making sure you don't feel that pain again. Well, that doesn't work. That in fact creates more anxiety, more depression, and eventually can be manifested in physical conditions from skin problems to autoimmune diseases and even cancer. Now, none of these diseases are like you are doing or there any punishment. It's all energy. If you actually study how we are nature and we are connected with all the elements of nature like fire, water, air, ether, earth, it's very easy to understand that it's just when the environment is not healthy, it's going to create some kind of illness. Just like a tree that is not getting enough water, is not getting enough nutrition, is being poisoned by pesticides or chemicals, might show some, big crust on the trunk, or might not produce fruit. So it's nature. So when many things out of balance, we're going to see the manifestation of that through our emotional body, our mental body, and eventually physical body too, because it's all connected. So what is my point with all this, and what does this have to do with the inner child? I'm going to get there. Stay with me. So when you're doing just talk therapy and addressing the behaviors without addressing the energy that is underneath, I'm going to bring the example of the tree again. If you plant a tree or you're building a garden on soil that is contaminated, you can buy the best seeds in the world, the most expensive flowers and seeds and trees in the world, but it's not going to thrive in a sick soil, in the soil that is contaminated, because it's going to pass to the tree. So if you just look at the tree, at the quality of the fruits, and the fruits are rotten, and you're going to focus just on the fruits, you wouldn't actually be helping that tree to get healthy at all. You have to look what is underneath the tree. What's the quality of the water that is irrigating that tree? If the water is contaminated and it's irrigating your plants and your tree, you're going to get rotten fruits, not going to get flowers. So the same is with our body. What is underneath here that is affecting my behaviors? For instance, let's say codependency, something I struggle with in many of my relationships. The codependency, it's about if you're happy, I'm happy. And if you're not happy, it's my job. I have to do something. I have to become somebody so you can be happy, because underneath that, if my partner is happy, that means I'm doing something good. So codependency is associating or happiness or well-being with the other person. And this happens also in any relationships with friends, relationships with money, relationships with our career. You can become codependent with anything. We are actually societal codependency, if you think about, because we look for power outside ourselves when the power is here. So this is why a lot of people are not transforming, because they're trying to address, they're trying to fix the behavior without looking what is going on underneath. Now, what is underneath? What is underneath, let's call the unconscious and subconscious mind. What is in there? Or limiting beliefs that we acquire through trauma or difficult experience in our past. When something, let's say you had a moment that you were humiliated, you were bullied in school because you were smart, because you were fit, because you were the greatest runner in your PE class, and because of that you were bullied and rejected. Right there you can make a decision that either I'm not going to be the athlete anymore because I get punished by this, or you show a piece of art to the teacher and you got teased and the teacher made a comment that is like, I hope you never become an artist because this is not that good. So any moment of humiliation could have led for you to make a decision about something that you're not good enough. And you create a personality, an identity in order to feel approved, in order to be approved, in order to belong, in order to feel safe. We're gonna do anything we can when we're young in order to feel safe. And we still do as an adult if you're not conscious about this. So we have to see what those beliefs. So number one, what is in there? Limiting beliefs. On those limiting beliefs, they were created around some kind of strong emotion, like humiliation. When we get humiliated, we feel it's a mixture of sadness, anger, hurt, shame. So in order to avoid the pain of shame, the pain of those emotions, because when we're young, if we don't have an adult to help us to regulate those emotions or to discharge, we don't know what to do. So we toss an emotion down below, it gets imprinted in our bodies, in our unconscious mind. We create a compensation, which is an identity. You might become instead of the artist, you decide that you're going to be a businessman or a businesswoman, you're going to be a high achiever. So that way your mom, your dad, your whole family are validating you and you feel like you belong to. So you become actually a person to just please others in order for you to feel safe in the world. This is why a lot of people become lawyers, doctors, again, business people, CEOs, and then they have a crisis where they don't want to do that anymore because they start moving towards the truth, because healing is really a return to truth. So when you start tapping into the underneath beliefs, the unconscious and subconscious beliefs, unconscious and subconscious wounds of anger, of sadness, of grief, a lot of grief comes, then you start bringing this energy into the heart center. Because when you do this work, let's say you're doing this work with a grounded coach or therapist that knows how to walk into your heart center, because what is walking to the heart center is holding your hand in the process and teaching a way to feel without so much fear, without feeling terrified of your emotions. What is this terror? This terror of feeling the emotions is actually not you. It's the child. It's a part of you. It's the part of you that is terrified of feeling that shame again, that guilt, that hurt again. So in the process of transformation, of healing, you learn how to start connecting actually with your higher self, with the wisest aspect of you. The wisest aspect of you. That's the closest, the closest part to the truth of your soul, to the truth of your divinity. The highest self is the wisest aspect of you that can witness that child feeling those emotions, and you start releasing that emotion, that limiting belief that is feeding that behavior. A very common behavior that I hear is adults in their 40s and their 50s is still being pretty codependent on their parents, is still seeking approval from their parents. So there is a lot of guilt. Guilt is something that basically the moment you're born, you're going to inherit guilt, because it has been imprinted in our collective for thousands and thousands of years, especially in the last 2,000 years with this whole story of crucifixion, that Jesus died for us and we should be guilty. No. It's not about the crucifixion, it's about the resurrection. That's a whole new video, a whole new conversation. But there's this imprint of guilt. You gotta be a good girl, you gotta be a good boy, put everyone ahead of you and not you. So your emotions don't get validated. And that's where we experience again, this is some kind of disharmony in the body. So my point here is we have to honor this part of ourselves, our younger self. So that's why during this work, I was just working with somebody yesterday, and another reason that a lot of people are suffering right now is that they're seeking which is a great thing. They're seeking a connection with the divine. They want to connect with the divine. They want to know their divinity. They want to know God. They want to know Source. And they get frustrated. And they adopt this belief that there's something wrong with them, which comes from those limiting beliefs right here that say, there's something wrong with me. I'm not worthy of God. I'm not worthy of love, which is the biggest lie of all. And from that belief system, if you're on the path of wanting and really working to connect with the divine and you are not accessing that, you are guilting yourself. So please stop that. I'm going to encourage you right now to eliminate blame completely. Blaming is a judgment towards yourself, a judgment towards others. And as I said before, judgment, especially that comes charged from this place of wrongness, there's something wrong with you, is the quickest way to disconnect you from your divinity. It's the quickest way to disconnect you from your heart, which is where everything is going to happen. So I'm going to circle back here. Why doing this work with the inner child, the younger self, is so important. I'm going to put her right here. It's so important because, like I said in the dedication of my book, she or he is the portal, is the conductor, is the transmitter, is the one that is going to lead you to a deep, deep connection with the divine. In other words, I always say your connection to divine starts by healing the younger self, because you need to bring her with you. You bring her into your heart center. And I shared with this client yesterday, we're doing a process where a memory of middle or high school came up, that something very intense happened in her life. And this memory got dislodged from the unconscious, and it helped her to release a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, anger. And that work is necessary. And she was in a lot of pain, thinking that she's trying all this spiritual modalities. She met with some spiritual teachers, did energy work, and she's not connected with the divine, because the connection comes through the child, in my experience. Now, some people might be watching this video and say, Alex, I never done any inner child work, any kind of parts work, and I'm very connected with the divine. Yes, that's absolutely possible. Maybe somebody that grew up with a lot of prayer, maybe you have meditated thousands of hours, maybe you've been to an ashram in India, maybe you went to a silent retreat, or maybe just your time in nature got you to connect very strong with the divine. Yes, that's absolutely possible. That's absolutely possible. The only issue, and I'm not saying this is you, the only issue, what I have witnessed, people who go, let's say they're working more in the upper centers where they connecting strong with the divine, a lot of them, they have not dealt with their past wounds. That can create some imbalance, I'm going to say for now. And I don't want to get too deep into this, what spiritual bypassing really is. But if you're just trying to connect with the divine and your upper centers are very open, maybe you've done a lot of plant medicine journeys, you've done MDMA journeys, doesn't matter, and you open your upper centers, but you still engage in a lot of behaviors and habits that are not healthy, or perhaps you keep attracting people in your life that are not necessarily good for you. Watch the behaviors, because everything in our life is a mirror. Everything in our life, especially the challenges, the dysfunctions, what we call bad things happening in our lives, what the struggle is, pay attention, because those are places that are mirroring places inside you that need attention, that need to be healed. So I'm not here to say the only way to the divine is through the inner child. That was my experience. And that's what the book is really about, is that experience. And I have not met anybody that is fully connected, fully grounded human, and at the same time connected with the divine, that hasn't done this work. So you can have a lot of connection to the divine and yet be a very ungrounded person. What does that mean? It means you need to put some attention in these lower centers where a lot of your wounds reside, and it's time to bring them up to your heart center. So if you already have a deep connection to the divine and you're going to do this work of healing the younger self, it might be even easier for you. Easier, quote unquote, because you're still going to have to filter all that through the heart center. There's no way out. And that's what I tell people. A lot of people want me to share with them an intellectual framework to heal, to transform, and there isn't. We have to go underneath and be willing to feel the emotion. What is feeling the emotion? Let's say you had a traumatic situation when you were 5, or like for me, my parents were divorced when I was about 9. It was a very difficult time in my life. And at 9 years old, I started experiencing a lot of stress in my body. I had a lot of stomach issues, a lot of digestive issues. I would throw up a lot. I had severe allergies that were debilitating, and I have a lot of stomach pain. I had anxiety. I was a very nervous, agitated child. And all that was happening because what was going on in my environment, and I didn't have anybody pay attention to those emotions. And today, I don't have stomach pain. I don't have digestive issues. I don't have allergies anymore. And I'm not nervous. I'm not anxious anymore. And the only reason I dealt with all those things, I was able to heal all this, let's say, illnesses or dysfunctions, it was by healing my emotions, old fear, old anger, old sadness. So it has been a lot of tears. Even this morning, I was doing some work and I was weeping. There was some grief that was dislodged from a time that I believe I was maybe 12, 13 years old. I was just doing a meditation and connect with Source, and all of a sudden this image came up, and it was my younger self, and I was weeping. And I feel very liberated right now. So why I'm sharing this? Because a lot of times people don't want to do this work because they believe they're going to get stuck in that. Not at all. Because in those tears, as I was weeping this morning, I was feeling all through my heart center is open. And those emotions move. Emotions want to move on your body. Your body wants to heal. Your body doesn't want to hold the emotions down. It's just being held down because there's a part of you that is holding down, that you don't want to open that up. Again, because of fear, what might come out, fear of feeling that pain again, and the fear is only the fear of the younger self. Long video to explain to you why this work of healing, connecting, having tremendous love and compassion for the young self, it's so important. I look at this picture many times and I cry with joy because she is the magic in me. She is the beauty in me. She is my life partner. She is my companion. And the more you do this work with the younger self, you merge with the younger self. So you don't have the separated parts anymore, because the essential part of this work, this transformation work, is to love every single part of you. So if you're rejecting a part of you, if you're angry about how you showed up in the past, if you're judging how you showed up in the past, I highly recommend to start feeling compassion. And how do you start? Choose a picture. Choose a picture of your younger self that you love. A picture where you look at that picture, you see your own essence. And I'm even going to encourage you to spend some time speaking to that younger self. What was she feeling or he feeling in that picture? Start connecting, and you might start, crying, weeping, or you might find your anger. So you might have to express some of the anger yourself. And if you need support in this journey, because it takes support, it can be terrifying feeling those emotions by yourself, contact me. Send me a direct message, or you can email me at alex@alexgill.com. coaching.com, and make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook sharing a lot of content about this process, and I'll be sharing a lot of more content about my book. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please share with your friends and also share an insight. What was the takeaway for you from this video? I would love to hear from you. Many blessings in your journey, and be kind to your younger self, because she or he, it's perfect and precious. Mwah.